Hi, I'm Paul Gilbert, and today we're going to talk about organizational culture. That is that sort of mysterious thing that makes some groups act in certain ways and other groups act in other ways. There's a great quote from Peter Drucker, one of the great business consultants of the 20th century, and he said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And it's a wonderful quote, and the reason is strategy is a list of things that you want to achieve and how you'd like to achieve them, but it's completely dependent on the culture of that organization, whether that group can implement that strategy in that way or not. A lot of leaders of organizations come in and they want to change everything, and they want to come up with a new strategic plan and a new culture. And what they find is that they fail because they create a strategy that doesn't fit with the way this organization works. So what we're going to talk about today is how to understand elements of organizational culture, because every type of organizational culture has its own strengths and weaknesses. So if you understand those, you can work with them. You also can change culture. It doesn't turn on a dime. It's kind of like driving a battleship. You turn the wheel and you wait, and it takes a while for the culture to move around. But you can change it. We'll talk a little bit about that. What we're going to be dealing with today is material that is covered in this book called Diagnosing and Changing Organizational Culture by Kim Cameron and Robert Quinn. And there'll be a link to the book in this video. So this book covers one way to think about organizational culture. There's probably many other more subtle elements, values, and things that aren't covered, but this looks at the basic focus of an organization. And it plots them on two axes. So one looks at flexibility versus control. The other one looks at internal focus versus external focus. And like I said, every organizational culture has its strengths and weaknesses. It's very much like a personality test for an individual. So if you've ever taken Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinder or any of the other ones, there's a lot of different types of characteristics that an individual has, and their strengths and weaknesses in those. With an organizational culture, it's a group dynamic of what the values and attitudes of the whole group are. So let's look at the four quadrants and talk a little bit about how they work. So the first one is called clan or family, and it is focused on collaboration. So like a family, it's internally focused, and like a family, it's flexible. So my guess is a lot of park and recreation organizations fall into this space. It's a friendly, comfortable place to be. You're very focused on the wellness and happiness of your employees and your team is having a good time, and you're flexible and doing new things all the time. So that's a great place to be. If you go from flexible to controlling and you're still internally focused, then you're into a hierarchical structure. And this is where a lot of local governments live, a lot of governments in general, where there is clear command and control and clear responsibilities and who does what. Everything is driven by the org chart. And there are strengths and weaknesses to that. So then if you move from this controlling mode over to, from an internal to an external way, external you get market. And so you have kind of the elements of a hierarchy where everything is sort of scripted and controlled and defined, but you're focused not internally but externally on your customer. So a lot of companies that are very successful are over in this marketplace where they have a lot of controls. They might be a bigger company, but they are focused on selling their product, delivering their service. Then you come up with kind of a fun space up here called adhocracy. So first of all, adhocracy is the vocabulary word of the day. It's a crazy word. I've never heard it before. It takes the phrase ad hoc, which means sort of temporary, flexible. You're creating this ad hoc committee that will do a certain project and then they'll go away. and you're making it into adhocracy, a form of government. And it's very focused on creating, being innovative and creative. And so they're highly flexible and they're highly focused on the exterior market. In this category, I like to think about tech startups. You think about the folks in tech startups, playing ping pong and riding their scooters down the hall and being creative and coming up with the next big new tech idea. That's adhocracy, and that's very innovative space. So I hope you can see that all four of those quadrants have certain strengths and weaknesses. Nova Parks, the agency I'm with, did a survey of our staff to figure out where we fit in these quadrants. And we actually came up with being in the adhocracy area. One, we generate a very large percentage of our operating revenues through enterprise operations. So we are innovative and we are market focused. I think if we had done this test maybe 5 years ago, we probably would have been in the clan mode, where we were flexible but internally focused. But over the last few years, we've done a lot of customer service training throughout the organization. And I think that customer service training has been one of those things that's nudged the organization from an internal focus to an external focus. It's a great example of organizational change. So it didn't change it on a dime. It took a few years, but we had a consistent focus on the customer, and that moved us from the internal to the external. You can change your culture all over the place. It just is slow, and you need to be deliberate. One of the ways they suggest doing this, which is just sound advice, is first decide where you want to go, and then take some things that are doable, that you can affect a change on, and really publicize those and build momentum around them. Get influence leaders within your organization to buy into the change that you want to have happen. And over time and consistent effort, you can push an organization in one direction or another. But understanding how to make your goals achieved has a lot to do with understanding where your organization is and developing strategies that fit that organizational culture, and then being patient with organizational change. I hope this is useful and that you can go and better understand your own organization and use those abilities that organization has, and help you think about how to change it in a positive direction you'd like to go. Thank you so much. Thanks for learning about organizational change. We'll talk to you soon.